become a GSL champion. So I think these two, it's just an epic match. They've both come into their own this year.
Yeah, and this presents us to us a very interesting matchup in the form of his opponent being TY, of course. Stats has, we discussed a little bit of his weaknesses when we talked about Special going up against him at the beginning of the tournament. We said, well, how does Special beat somebody like Stats? And Artos has brought out the wisdom of range liberators. You got to abuse Stats' defensive play style. We know TY is a brilliant player. He's very smart. He does not just rely on his mechanics. We should expect him to take a similar tactical approach to eliminating Stats here in this final match.
If there's one way I could identify TY's style of TvP especially, I'd say there's two stages. There's one where he will try to finish the game off as we saw Special do. He'll play that kind of standard Terran style where you want to finish the Protoss before late game, but he's one of the best at it, and he's incredibly technical. But if the game goes past a certain point, TY just transforms into the strongest macro TvP player in the world. He will go above 80 workers, something you almost never see a Terran player do, and he'll play a kind of grind you out, harassment, positioning focused late game with ghosts, with range liberators, and he does that better than anyone else in the world. So I really hope, for my own selfish, entertainment, I want to see one of these games go really late because TY does it like nobody else.
I'm excited just because this is a scenario that played out earlier as well, where TY had a great series against Snoot. We got to see some long games, some really cool stuff. But against Special, no joke, he was a bit of a bop. TY was just constantly on the back foot, just constantly getting harassed, getting the lesser of the fights, and we didn't really get to see TY's abilities in that short best of 3. So I'm excited to hopefully see some longer games, some more fleshed out games, and like Peg was talking about, the different stages that both these players offer, in particular TY, because that is the potential for when these two guys clash.
Yeah, and we had quite a few 2-0s today, and pretty much actually all 2-0s. And I think in this situation right now, if you're going to go out, you've got to put your best foot forward. You do not want to get smacked down as swiftly as he was by Special in that upper bracket match. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Stats versus TY. Let's go to the casters and see who moves on and who goes home.
What's up, guys? I'm Tasteless, joined with Maynard, and we have the rematch of the IEM Katowice Finals. It's Stats versus TY.
Yeah, and that was a firecracker, that best of 7 on that huge stage. And this one promises to be no different. Both players love that late game. Both players are very comfortable within it. Are they going to try and throw a spanner in the works in this rematch? I want them to start right now. Like, I know it's only a few seconds away, but I want it to be right now.
I'm super excited,
I'm being very selfish.
I got to say, man, that series, if you have a chance and you didn't see that IEM Finals, was one of the best StarCraft 2 finals of all time. It was TY who managed to overcome Stats. We're going to see if Stats can get his revenge this time around. Introducing our players. In the bottom right, in the blue, he is Stats.
And it's up left, his teammate and ally, but not this time. This is TY.
Kind of crazy that these guys are duking it out in this phase of the tournament. It was mentioned earlier at the couch over there that it's Special who actually shot out of this group, which I'm obviously very happy for him, but I am blown away that that was the result we got.
Yeah, if you're one of those people that genuinely predicted that, congratulations. Like, honestly, congratulations, because none of us did. We were like, sure, Special has a chance, but one of these Koreans, or probably both these guys, are going to be in the Wiz match. No, we're actually in an elimination match right now.
Yeah,
one of these
so
guys
strange.
go forward, and one of these... We're not going to see either TY or Stats in the round of 8, which is actually insane to me.
It's super strange. I thought this was actually going to be the easiest script to predict, but instead we've had this plot twist, and only one of these guys is going to advance to the final 8 spots. The probe now going to come in here and do a little bit of scouting here. This is a very unforgiving situation since it is just a best of 3 with everything really on the line. A lot of these guys want to get further along so that they have matches that can go on for longer, right? Best of 5s, for instance, where they can prove themselves. So everything's so important for both of them. It's weird to say that one of these guys will actually not be moving on.
Yeah, it is hard to digest, but this is the world that we live in. TY not even wanting to do the dance with the probe here. He went gas first. He needs that extra base. He wants to get that factory down as quickly as possible and start making useful units. The first Reaper is going to pop out here on Ascension Dire to get into Stats' main and have a bit of a look. Some people question the use of a Reaper in Ascension Dire because, yes, you'll get a Scout, but often the Protoss will deal with it very, very easily. If, they generally open an Adept and they'll just chase it back. But as it stands, you can still get some scouting done. So it's not that expensive an investment to have a look.
As the game moves on, let's go back and think about that series these two guys played at IEM. Because history is super important with these two. We saw TY go for some really strong pushes to actually close that out. That was a series that went to the last game, which is not actually that common in StarCraft 2. And stats seem to show a little bit of weakness on for situations like that, able to kind of push in and crush the third base. Will he do that this time around? Not totally sure. They did have some great long games, but one feature about a player like TY is he seems to know exactly how to move around the map.
I remember him using in the final game against Stats in that final that you were just talking about. He basically used the architecture of Cactus Valley to go for a really sick timing attack with Ravens and tanks and bully him off the map and end up being the champion. But that's then and this is now.
That's right.
And as we see, TY's getting his start point, so his 1-on-1's shaping up nicely. And Stats is opening with an Oracle here. First Adept coming into the natural to have a bit of a look. Obviously, it's not going to get a ton of damage done, but it is, it's hard to DPS down. It's a high hit point unit. He's just going to take a couple shots at an SCV, maybe kill the mule, and then shade back. No, never, not even that.
Yep, just doing a little bit of bruising there, nothing too impactful. TY, when it comes to maneuvering, I think positionally he's the best player in StarCraft 2. And he also seems to have a very, very complex understanding of the tempo of the opposing race he's against. He'll know exactly when you've got your observers out. He'll know exactly when you've tagged to X, Y, or Z. He's very solid in that sense. And this time around, we actually see that he's going to be going for Cloak here.
Yeah, Cloak Banshee is a little unorthodox, but not unheard of for a Terran to do this. This could actually catch the Protoss unawares. Obviously, he has Stargate tech, and it has the ability to detect. But still, you can get caught unawares here, especially in that natural if you don't have full pylon coverage. And the pylon placement for Stats in the back of his natural is not super, it doesn't cover the whole mineral line here. We see that he did see that tech lab, he did see it spinning, got the Reaper got some scouting information off as well. And Stats, he's got a proxy pylon here.
Yeah.
He's going to move across and try and bully through this natural. Has to be very careful about that Widowmine, though. Losing the Oracle is going to take a lot of sting out of this.
Yeah, he's going to have to make sure that the Oracle stays alive if there's going to be any more pressure. We actually have the... Okay, we just missed that, but we saw that the Stalkers did lose their shields back there. He's going to continue to press forward now. The Stalkers now come in here, begin to bruise these Marines. Keep in mind, there's no medevac with this. One Stalker does get snapped away.
It sure does, but with good stutter step and good micro stats, shouldn't be losing Stalkers like this to these Marines here, so needs to be very, very careful. The bunker's about to finish, and now that a tank's out, there's no way Stats is breaking this.
That's right. But just shaving off a few Marines there early on. Again, they haven't healed up. Now he's got the Oracles and the Phoenix for the lift on the tank if he wants to.
Yeah, that could change things. The Phoenix could lift the tank. This Viking's being very annoying for Stats, though. His air units are the most important thing if he wants to continue to try and pressure this natural here. TY still has some Marines in the back because he knows the Oracle could swing in and try and pick up some SCVs. Oh, the Phoenix gets... That's it, basically.
That's it.
Like, the tank can't be lifted anymore. The Oracles are not quick enough DPS to be able to burn that tank down. Thankfully for Stats, though, he does have this third Nexus back at home. So he's sitting large and in charge back there.
Yeah, I want to make it super clear here that Stats was not doing any kind of insane all-in back there. He was simply poking in and keeping the pressure on the Terrans. Sometimes Terrans can end up overreacting to this, and if they put too much resources into defense, their posture is too defensive. Stats expanded behind this. Now, that doesn't mean that, especially with 5 gateways and a Warp Prism coming up here, Stats won't try to be aggressive again. But this is a good setup. This pressures TY into trying to get a base of his own.
Yeah.
And when he's going to try to get that expansion of his own, a third base in this case, it's going to be the same moment that all the gateways for Stats are going to be activated, and he's going to be able to refill huge chunks of his army as he pushes forward. So this is the setup. Let's see how it goes.
He'll have a very healthy income, and it looks like Adepts are going to be the transition here for Stats, getting that Resonating Glaives as those gateways finish. So first Prism is out, but hasn't been rallied out yet, so it's going to take a little while for it to get down here. The Oracles and the Stalkers still being a little bit of a looming threat here at the third. That's a lot of Marines. Now, they don't have Stim or +1 yet, but once they do, gateway units aren't as scary anymore.
Warp Prism now moving out. This all comes down to the positioning here for the Terran. It's very easy to abuse a Terran who has maybe defended too much in the front, and you say, oh, I can't really kill this expansion, but I can warp in everything in the main and wreak havoc over there.
Quite true. It's why he's dropping missile turrets. You know that that's a possibility.
There are 3 sentries in with this group, and the most important thing for the Terran is to be careful about being... too late. But if Protoss tags your army, especially the medevacs, it's very easy for Protoss to predict where your position's going to be. So the Adepts are going to come around the corner here, but there is a mine here.
Oh yeah, loses one, shields off a couple. So that kind of shows Stats' hand here, and TY moving to try and deflect these Adepts. Meanwhile, the third's being pushed by a good number of Adepts as well.
Okay, he's getting ready to try to strike here. TY actually looks pretty solid. I don't know if he's going to get...
He's split his forces very nicely here. Like, he has just enough to hold him left, just enough on the right, especially with that tank. And now the Liberator's out. He doesn't really have the Phoenix count to dive on that Liberator and take it out just yet.
Okay, another tag there on the Medivacs. Liberators set up like this. It's going to be tough for him to get any further in. And he commits now with the Adepts, trying to get as many workers as possible. A second shade now coming in here. SCV's beginning to go down.
Yeah. There's going to be some SCV kills here for sure. How many can Stats get before he gets cleaned up? As it stands, an entire mineral line saturation of SCVs has gone down so far. Nice move by Stats. Loses most of his Adepts, but still, good amount of damage.
16 workers killed when it's all said and done. But as you were saying, Maynard, a lot of Adepts have been taken out. In fact, 24 so far in this game. You got to be careful when you're trying this technique by Stats, because even if you get a bunch of workers, if your army is too small, a counterattack can kill you. I don't think that's the case this time around, but we definitely want to watch out for it.
I mean, and TY is the kind of guy that will just shoot up there, skyrocket that SCV count if you don't do this damage to him. He is such a laid-back macro Terran for the most part. Stats is transitioning now. Looks like possibly Colossus tech here with the robotics bay being dropped back at home. Catching these Adepts, very nice. TY going to kill another couple units here. But again, Stats just trying to hit in two places at once. TY, though, units ready and in place.
This might start backfiring for Stats. He is beginning to hemorrhage a lot. Even though he's killing these workers, TY's supply, as far as army goes, is overall much, much bigger.
Yeah.
Stats, unfortunately, has now put himself in a position where I think he almost has to try to keep counterattacking, because if he does go home and Stats does decide to come out, it's going to be really hard for Stats to actually hang on.
Well, the huge thing here is that TY's army supply is getting scarily huge, and he has a lot of Marauders as well as Marines in this army. That's very anti-Colossus, anti-Stalker, and there's not that many Adepts to tank here for Stats. Looks like he may go to the main or try and push here. Lovely Stasis Ward, by the way, catching most of TY's army, and the tag sees the move out as well, so he knows he's free to attack the third.
Yeah, what Stats is trying to do is sandbag the push here from TY. A small, very economical counterattack over here to try to get some workers, but TY doesn't blink. He's moving forward. He's coming towards Stats. I don't know if Stats has enough to hang on.
No, his answer for these Liberators is almost non-existent. He has some Stalkers, but that's not that much, and he's making 2 Colossi at a time. That Phoenix is going to be nice, and the Overcharge is actually doing a good job here, so that third Nexus is safe. Main looks to be safe as well, but there's a Doom drop here from TY with Liberators to defend, and he's going straight for the main.
Okay, we have some more warp-ins coming in. I thought TY was going to do a more straightforward push, but instead he's trying to split Stats' army up. The Liberator's in a very good spot. The Stalkers do manage to blink around and begin to take those Liberators out, but meanwhile, in the north, nothing here to defend the Nexus.
A couple of overcharged pylons, quite nice, but TY just repositions his army, picks up the robotics bay, denies extended thermal lance, and Colossus are garbage without that upgrade. He absolutely needs to remake that. Beautiful pick off for TY, but he does lose a lot of his army supply.
Very nicely done. Denying that upgrade is going to really hurt Stats in the long, late game. He won't have the ability to do damage as quickly and as immediately when the two armies engage each other if it is a full-on fight. Behind this, TY expands again. TY managed to not only get in there, take out that upgrade and do a decent amount of damage, but he's also getting more momentum economically.
And even though it's mainly Colossi that he's seen, he's getting a Ghost Academy because he's like, hey, it's going to be tough for Stats to make this Colossi work. He's going to need Storm eventually, and it's a good read from TY. We see the Templar Archives 2/3 of the way done here for Stats. He is transitioning out of Colossi tech once the Robotics Bay finishes, or perhaps just getting both. Why not get all the splash damage? He scans, sees the army. It's going towards the third. He has a haphazard line of supply depots here to mess with the AI, the attacking AI of the gateway units.
Almost an overstim there by TY.
Yeah.
You can see Stats just being a little bit more cautious again because he doesn't have that range upgrade. He can't quite get in there and poke. So he's going to try to rotate around. Now, I'm not sure if this base is vulnerable here in the center left. We have some Adepts shading in over here, but the real action is down here at this planetary.
Yeah, the planetary is tough for Stats to break here, to be honest. Like, mass repair on that planetary, most of these units will be in range of that when they attack it. Again, have to bring out no extended thermal lance for the Colossi. Also, +2 isn't done. He's only got halfway on that +2, with TY getting 3/2 upgrades for his bio.
Oh, he's actually outmaneuvered TY here. He's going to try to target down the CC, but the Colossus goes down, and it's not stopping as TY is full-on committed to trying to defend this location. The planetary is taken out, but so much critical tech for Stats is as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to lose his army here to the Stim Bio. The upgrades are so good for TY, landing the Vikings as well to take out the rest of Stats' army, and he pushes him back, taking a huge chunk of that army supply away, but he loses his force, so damage has been done.
Again, it's similar to the scenario earlier where he does take out a key point that's going to slow TY down economically, but I'm worried that the army may be the real story here. It's 101 supply for TY. It's 44 for Stats. The most sophisticated components of Stats' army were killed off, the Warp Prism, the Colossi, and now he can probably, if he does it right, just push in and deal a good amount of damage. So because of that, Stats is going to fly in here with his Warp Prism. He's trying to cause enough of a distraction over here. The TY will be too preoccupied to do this counterattack.
If he gets a big Warp in off, it actually may work here. He's just sort of messing around with these Adepts. The Vikings have come all the way back, so bye-bye Warp Prism. Eventually, the Vikings are losing their navigation here for a little bit, but they will catch it.
Yep, he does finally manage to take out that Warp Prism. But it seems like Stats has bought just a little bit more time. I don't know if there's going to be enough countering and harass here from Stats to truly deny TY from actually doing the counter push, which just seems to be an inevitability.
Yeah, I mean, Stats does have some scary splash damage units, but there's not much juice on those High Templars. Not many storms here at all. Not any at the moment just yet. They're on the way of those storms. He does have Thermal Lance now eventually, and he was making Colossi still. I'm sure he's probably still producing them. But the splash damage needs to come in clutch for him because, oh no, he's switching in an Immortal Tech. He just doesn't have the army, Tasteless. This bio army is going to be heavily upgraded. He's got Ghosts as well as Liberators, which are almost +2 attack upgraded. It's going to be really, really tough for Stats to stop this.
You know, I'm worried here for Stats. He's going to have perfect Psionic Storms here if he's going to win this engagement, and I think TY is more than aware of that. He's now gearing up. It looks like he actually wants to just try to cut the bases essentially in half here for Stats. He's stimming now coming forward. Good EMPs down on the Protoss' army. And now the Robo and these gateways with just one pylon power and are under attack.
Oh man, I don't know what you call that kind of pylon, but it went down. And all those EMP units are just no good in this fight here. The Stalkers are blinking forward, but they are going to be mincemeat for this bio army. Everything goes down, and GG gets tapped out here. TY takes game number 1.
TY, I think from start to finish, an overall better approach. I thought the opening for Stats was actually really, really cool. It looks on the surface like it could be a lot of pressure here for the Terran, but it's not. It's actually a pretty modest build where he's just expanding behind, putting pressure on the Terran. But TY was patient, and I like what Stats was trying to do by sending Adepts in to take out workers, but he lost way more Adepts than the workers that he was killing off. It wasn't really cost efficient at all. And at the end of the game, it was just TY with a bigger army.
Yeah, it was all about the army supply. You nailed it, Tasteless. He just had too big of a force. Like, yeah, I don't have that many bases back at home, but you're going to stop this? I don't think so, nerd.
And I think
that's what happened.
The quintessential moment of that game was when we saw him try to target down the CC. And again, he got it. He killed a bunch of workers, but he lost everything tech-wise. And TY, in the end, he had all the tools necessary to disarm a Protoss that was relying especially heavily on Adepts early on.
Yeah, and not relying heavily on his upgrades. Like, I'm so used to Stats and his PVTs going double Forge, pushing for that late game, having a very highly upgraded Protoss army. But we saw, like, back in that game, going to bring you guys back, TY was getting 3-2 for his bio, while Stats was getting +2 attack for his units.
I think Stats was trying to play unorthodox to the way we understand him. To throw TY off, as he went for a sneaky play there that we wouldn't normally have come out from him, but TY shut it down. Anyways, we now go in to game number 2, Stats versus TY, a fight to move on to the final 8. Okay, introducing our players. In the upper left, in the blue, he is Stats.
And his other opponent from Splice, this is TY. Little bit of heartbreak whenever you see these team kills, but there can be only one. It's just like Highlander.
Ruh-roh. That SCV seems to have left pretty early there, man.
Yeah, and he seems to be sending to a certain spot here.
He couldn't make a command center there. No, he would be making a, I believe it's called a barracks.
You know what? I'm going to bring this cast up when people say you can't analyze stuff, Tasteless.
That's right. Now you know.
Nailed it, dude. That is a
all those
barracks.
guys that thought he was going to make a CC over there, I'm like, no, that's why I'm here, guys.
Exactly.
So, the barracks is being put right over there. Stats did do a quick scout, though.
Stats is going to get up in the main of TY and go, and like you just said, rut row. That's what Stats is going to say when he scouts that main. So you see double gas, he's going to be like, ah, dang, Reapers, here they come.
Yeah.
It may actually be worse than that with the timing of this double gas. It could be a factory as well. But we will see from TY. Stats coming up here, sees a depot and goes, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, TY.
So, because Stats scouts early enough, he can have enough time to respond to this effectively.
He's forced to make a Zealot. Generally, you don't want a Zealot in the early game, but he has to because the Zealot will actually mess with the AI and the target firing of the Reaper. TY is forced to actually click on the things that he wants to kill. Otherwise, the Zealot will just tank for days. Yeah,
it's a little bit more APM intensive that way. Now, I don't want to mislead everybody and make them think that this is an insane all-in, but this is something that's ideally it will curb the progression of Stats as he's trying to develop into a proper Protoss army. But this is, again, definitely an unorthodox opening here.
Yeah, definitely. Just one proxy barracks with Reaper, so not super all in, but obviously very aggressive. And the factory was placed back at home, so he can make some factory units, possibly even a Cyclone back at home to recover. Engineering Bay going down as well because he knows that Stats could possibly go for some Stargate tech here to try and wreck him back at home. Oracle's very hard to deal with when you're proxying with Reapers.
Yeah, if we could just get a shot just a little bit south of here. I love this.
Oh no, never mind. That's just a block.
Yeah, this is a beautiful play because you have to respect the presence of the Reaper, right? If you let the Reaper run through your basic all your workers, it's going to be a disaster. But then when the eBay down here, Protoss can't expand as early as they want to. And this completely throws off, by the way, whatever build Stats had planned. Stats now is having to play on instinct against TY.
That's right. The Adept coming in here to help out the Zealot to bully him away from that Engineering Bay, which he absolutely needs to clean up here. You don't want to be a one-base Protoss for too long. It's Stats going to go for the Hail Mary Nexus here at the gold base.
I love this. This is a really smart response, is to take a super fast gold base. Now, you can be torn apart very quickly doing this if they're ready for it. The question is TY going to spot it? And if he does, has he anticipated this as one of the possible reactions by Stats to the opening TY elected to do?
TY strikes me as a pretty intelligent guy, and I think that all possibilities are racking through his brain.
I love this too. Yeah. So once the barracks is no longer making the Reaper, he comes in here for a block. But look at this TY.
He's going to scout it.
Crossing his T's and dotting his I's. Comes in and spots the gold.
Beautiful.
Now, we have a Banshee being made, which is actually a pretty cool play against the quick gold base.
Yeah, it's quite nice. A little risky because of the Oracle, but I guess he does have Cyclones back at home. There's that probe transfer. Obviously, the Oracle's going to do all right against this Reaper, take it out. And the probes live for now, but I got to say, surely TY has his sights set on that gold Nexus for his big attack.
When you look at this situation, the Oracle can tag the Cloak Banshee, and that's one way to spot it, but he also has to kill it. You know, seeing it is not the only thing. So I'm worried for him in this regard because it is just, oh my God.
He's making Marines in Stats'
Wait,
main
can we get another
now.
shot of that barracks? Wait, where's the Marine going to come out? Can the Zealot actually get back over there?
Should be able to kill it. I mean, there it
All
is.
right, it's just, well, this is Slayer's Boxer 2.0 over here.
That's almost BM. In fact, I would say that is BM. We have a Widowmine here to deflect that Oracle. The Oracle did float into the main, but didn't quite get there.
I don't know if he's going to be ready for this. The Cyclones are going to do so much damage here. And it's, for now, I think he's going to have to just try to hold this position. He has triggered the first pylon cannon.
Yeah, he's doing all right so far, but that means that the main is free. No overcharges here. He does have a Phoenix, though.
Oh, I think this may be the beginning of the end.
He's
going to tag this, but it's just one Phoenix, so you can still get a ton of kills here with this Banshee as long as he continues to target down these probes. 4 kills, Nicely done.
Yeah, not bad, but still, you know, I actually thought he could have gotten a lot more done. There was a couple hurt probes. He was shooting ones that were in gas as well. But anyway, small nitpicks aside, the Banshee did get damage done. Stats being pulled left, right, and center here. It's so hard to reinforce and defend that sort of fourth base location, which is his natural right now, while trying to hold the main as well. A second Cloak Banshee comes in, another tag. Phoenix once again coming in to help out, but more probes going to go down.
Problem right now for TY is actually that Stats got the base up. I mean, he's killing workers, but there's definitely more minerals coming in here. TY, oh, hold up. Stalker's going to move in right here, right now. But with this many Cyclones, he may be forced to back up.
Yeah, definitely. 4 Cyclones can beat this army, especially with the Banshee in the sky. Yes, the Banshee is made of paper, but it does a lot of damage if controlled correctly. Looks like the barracks can be taken out by the air units here of Stats, and the game will go on.
You know, to be honest, the Banshee play was cool, but it did slow down him powering up with a more basic Terran ground army. And I really like the position that Stats is in now. This has actually been one of the cooler games I've casted in a while. This is... the way they're both reacting and responding to each other, it makes this one of the more unique StarCraft 2 games you can really see. So Stats definitely had to respect the opening here for TY, but I think TY was almost, it was a smart move, but it was almost trying to be too sneaky.
Yeah, he's being really weird right now.
Because the truth is, now that Stats has the gold base, he's going to have a much beefier ground army.
Yeah, and TY is going to have a bit of a hard time taking his third base, to be honest. He's making it part of the wall, but when he floats it on down there, there's a shark in the waters, and it's Protoss, and his name is Stats. So he has to be very, very careful.
Okay, once again, Banshee comes in, but Oracle's already ready, along with that Phoenix, to try to take this out as quickly as possible. Looks like he'll only get 2 kills there. That's not a cost-efficient trade at all.
No, not really. Another Banshee trying to be effective here. Sees that the Natural's not taken. The third base location's been taken here. And this one's a lot more vulnerable. There are no pylons here to overcharge. He's swapping in some sentries?
Yeah, that's not the play, my friend.
Bold strategy, Cotton.
So I think from here, he's just going to keep on trying to target down anything that's available to him. It looks like 1 sentry will go down. I will say that the Banshee damage is starting to stack up. But, you know, when Protoss gets that gold base, they end up with so much more money. Then they get their third base up more quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say that now the third is done for Stats, he's going to be making probes 3 at a time, and the worker deficit that he had is not going to be a deficit at all. And TY, as the Observer showed, had killed 16 workers this game already. So that just means TY is resetting the board more than anything.
That's right. A nice tag here by Stats. He has to be on top of the movement here of TY. Can we go back and just check TY's base here? I just want to see what exactly he has available to him. Do we have enough medevacs to have a real fight?
We actually don't have any.
We don't have any.
The first couple are going to pop out of the starport.
That's what I was wondering, is when you're doing a build like this with Banshees, you're not making medevacs. So you don't have a lot of sustainability when the actual big fight happens.
Yeah, this army will actually lose to Stats' army if he commits with everything here. But TY may still be able to hold once his medevacs come out, once his stim is done now, so that's going to help him out a ton. Obviously, it's very, very dangerous up until that point. Blink on the way here for Stats. And he doesn't have a ton of Stalkers, but he does have a lot of Adepts coming in here.
Okay, the momentum is really on Stats' side. He's now on 4 bases to TY's 3, and by the way, that third base is actually pretty fresh. He's coming in here with the Adepts. He's tagging him down.
Oh, boy.
And I believe he's going to let this finish right on top of the Terran's army.
Yeah, tanks be damned. That's just way too many Adepts here, and they go down. And he can actually split his army up and fight on 2 fronts here. There's just not enough for TY to hold this third base and the Natural at the same time. GG! Stats ties it up, 1 apiece.
Very nicely done. Just like the Intel Extreme Masters Finals in Katowice, these guys are very even. Again, guys, this is the rematch from that Finals.
Yeah.
And we only have 1 more game with them. It's either going to be TY reasserting his dominance and crushing Stats down, or it's going to be Stats getting his revenge and advancing in the most important StarCraft 2 tournament in the world.
We're in one of those magical situations, Tasteless, where everyone starts to get chills, where you're sitting here and you're like, wait, there is 1 map to decide if 2 of these Korean champions are going to be in the round of 8 of the biggest tournament of the year.
I can't believe one of these guys is going to get eliminated. Yeah. We should let them both advance and play in Archon mode.
We should completely change the tournament right now.
That's right. We should change the rules of the tournament right now.
Just fix it up.
So a lot of pressure, in all seriousness, on these guys. TY, it's kind of funny because his strategy actually worked. Like for the first, I guess half of it worked out perfectly. But then the later part of the game, like, he wasn't able to do the closer. Right, he had delayed the Nexus at the Natural. in a really cool, clever way. But Stats is like, okay, just takes the gold base, and he's like, I got a lot of money now.
Yeah.
Makes a bunch of gateways, and TY was like unable to get any advantage from what he was effectively pulling off from the start.
I actually congratulate people that can play those kind of games and just know what to do. Like, that was such a weird opening from TY. One Proxy Reaper, NG Bay block. Stats is forced to take the gold base, which is extremely vulnerable, and he just made every correct decision. Like, he had Phoenixes and Oracles in location, one apiece, to stop the multiple Banshee harassment.
It's funny. I'm now very curious how TY opens. I think it should be really orthodox.
I hope so.
And not crazy.
It's his strength, to be honest.
Stats also was trying to be a sneaky snake.
A sneaky snake. Snake in the grass. Yeah.
In game number 1 by putting that pressure on, but really also expanding quite quickly. And it was TY. TY was rewarded for standard play in game 1, and then it was Stats who was like, he was the virtuous nerd. He was the guy that actually managed to pull through. He was the by playing the proper game.
He was the cowboy with a white hat.
That's right.
TY was the guy with the black hat, for sure.
So we're going to be going into game number 3 shortly here. I have no way to predict who's going to win this.
Oh, not at all.
These guys always produce great games with each other.
They're such a good match. They're teammates. They know each other's playstyles very, very well. They've met on stage many, many times before. It's really hard to predict because of how similar their styles generally are. I mean, we're sitting here talking about how great their late games are, and that's the strength of the play. And then TY just proxies a Reaper. Just proxies a Reaper. Like, we actually cannot predict things. It looks like we're just having a little bit of a break here as the player's going to have to use the loo.
Yeah, it's we do allow the players to take small breaks here. And I can only imagine what these guys are thinking in a situation like this. The entire year for a StarCraft 2 player is all leading up to this one moment. And now, first of all, they made it. They survived and actually got down here to LA for this tournament. Now it's down to this last game. And you're either going to advance and be that much closer, or you're knocked out. And these guys are friends, teammates. It's unfortunate they had to face off here.
Yeah, I mean, they've already made good money, but it's not about the money to these guys. Yeah. They want to be the champion. In fact, you ask any pro gamer, are you excited about winning all this money? They will tell you, you know, yeah, money's nice, but it's about being the best StarCraft 2 player. It's about the glory. It's about the accolades. It's about being acknowledged for all of the hard work that you've put in through your entire career. Not just a year, but your entire career playing StarCraft 2.
That's right.
This is the grand prize.
StarCraft,
you have to get it.
StarCraft's truly the game where nobody picked it up and said, oh, I got a knack for this. You know, I'm actually just pretty good at this. It all clicks with me. You have to grind.
Yeah.
It's so much hard work. Some of these guys have been playing for more than a decade.
Some people do have that, but they're not the champions. The champions are the guys that, sure, maybe they had a bit of RTS, you know, knack for it, but the hard work will always be the deciding factor. Bjorn was the hardest worker that year that he won.
That's right.
Rogue was the hardest worker when he won IM Shanghai, etc., and it goes on.
It's a Dragon Ball Z story, man.
It is.
Becoming more and more powerful. We're now ready for game number 3, the final game between Stats and TY. In the upper left, in the blue, our Protoss player, he's Stats.
And at the bottom right here, this is TY. Keeping the SCV at home, I see. Nice.
That's right. He's going to stay back, get that first depot. We might still see something wild, but if I were either player, I would probably try to play more of a normal game.
I would be probe scouting 100% if after a game 2 like that. In fact, you know, this, like we've said it over and over again, an elimination match. You want to be dotting your I's, crossing your TYs. You want to get down there, have a look, and see what is up. Don't go without scouting. Don't be greedy. You could get your pants pulled down around your ankles and then be out of the BlizzCon. That's
right. We have the barracks on the way right now, gateway on the way. Everything looks normal so far.
Yeah, gas first here in the barracks. I mean,
excuse me. Yeah, good call.
It just means that he's going to have a nice, quick factory. A lot of the stuff that you used to do, like you used to see a lot of Widowmine play, Cyclone play, that sort of thing. There's so much you can do with this kind of opening. It's extremely common. But you generally want things other than Marines. There is like a gasless expand that happens sometime in TvP, especially like on this map, like the bigger maps, where you go up to triple barracks and get your gases after that. But TY, he's the kind of guy that likes his factory units, as we've been seeing in his recent TvPs.
And so this is looking to be a pretty modest expand here from TY as well.
Reaper expand.
Yep, he's just going to get that CC up over here. And what, in this case, TY is doing is making sure the Reaper's there to get the scout, and it also keeps a little bit of pressure on the Protoss. The Protoss has to stay back and defend against that Reaper. And Terran tries to read what the Protoss is going to do, because there's a lot of different ways that Protoss can dismantle a Terran. Protoss is probably the race that's best at disguising what it's going to do.
Yeah,
especially in this matchup. If you watch somebody like Hero, you'll see exactly what I mean.
I mean, Terran can proxy factories and Stargates, but we're talking about you know, a race that has the ability to warp in, you know, aggressively. Yeah. But proxy warp-ins are a little bit few and far between. It's more like about hiding a Stargate or something like that.
Yeah, the Reaper is going to continue to come through here and make sure that the Adept is used defensively while he's trying to get any kind of read on what the direction is going to be here. And it's actually going to be a Robotech. I'm not sure if the Reaper will be able to get down there and see it. It's tucked away in a pretty hard-to-get-to location on the map.
It is, but it's also a structure that you really, really want in PvT.
Yeah.
Like, you have to deal with Widow Mines, you possibly have to deal with factory units at some point, so the ability to make Observers and Immortals extremely important. It's generally, you know, after you make your first gateway, it's going to be the next tech structure you see, more time, like 9 times out of 10.
So the Reaper is now pulling back over here. We have that initial Cyclone being made. And this is, by the way, we saw in the one of our previous games, actually it was the last game, excuse me, that he wanted to try to use the Banshee play. This is TY doing more of a standard, I'm going to power up and get a solid ground army approach here. And we have that first Observer coming out. We did see that was one of the only issues that Stats was really having to struggle with, was the fact that he didn't have detection as conveniently or consistently in that last game.
And the server will certainly provide that. With the Twilight Council going back at home and Stats, a lot of things open up for his choices in this game. TY looking like he's doing a bit of a 2-1-1 back at home. Stats getting Blink immediately and an Immortal.
Yeah,
so
this is cool.
Yeah, okay. Stats not playing super regularly PvT here. Oh. And TY also doing the same back at home. Coming in the main.
Okay, he sees 3 gates. Now that's not really out of the ordinary.
No.
He should be able to take out the Reaper here, which is going to end that scouting phase.
Seeing a lack of Robo and a lack of Twilight Council or a lack of information means he might want to burn a scan here to see where those are placed. He knows that they have to be there somewhere.
Okay. Starport's now done. He'll be able to pump out Medivacs 2 at a time. Which will really allow him to full-on engage, especially when Stim's done here for the Terran. Any kind of Protoss army. I want to see what the next thing from the Robo is. It's going to be a Warp Prism.
Okay. So Stats almost certainly going to be aggressive here with his choices. Blink is very, very good aggressively, and so are Immortals. But Immortals can hold against the Cyclone aggression, which is very common in TvP. See, TY is just pulling a ton of Marines down here, and when the Medivacs come out, it's going to load them up and go for a big drop.
Okay, Observer comes in here to scout. Now, TY is actually quite good at always scanning and killing this the moment it gets here. But it seems that he hasn't spotted it just yet.
I'm not sure the energy on the natural, or even if he has seen it at all.
I'm sorry. You're right.
There's no scan in the main
Okay,
just
no
yet.
scan just
and,
there.
Yeah, and he mules, so
all
he doesn't have a scan anyway, but it didn't actually seem like he's seen it anyway, but he is loading up, and I don't know if Stats did see the double barracks, so he knows what he's up against, but he didn't see the move out just yet. I'm sure he's still worried about it.
Okay, we have the 2 Medivacs on the move.
Oh.
But there's a Warp Prism coming in here, so they're both going to be hitting each other at about the same time.
And then Stalker's with Blink here, so he has to be very, very careful.
Yeah. In fact, he might be falling right into this trap.
Oh my god. Oh. Yeah, he sees the Stalkers, he's like, nah. If in doubt, pull out.
Okay.
Blink is done, and so is Stim now for TY.
Okay, the Marines are going to move forward a little bit here, but again, if he can catch the Medivac. Here we go. Boom. Oh. Takes out one Medivac immediately. Great play by Stats.
Yeah, beautiful pickoff. The wind is out of the sails for this timing attack of TY, and he is just macroing back at home, trying to look towards a third base and getting that tech out. Now, Stats has the ability to put the aggressive pants on with this Warp Prism, and does he do just that?
We have the Protoss' army now moving across the map here, because when you lose that one Medivac and all those Marines, that's like about a third of the army here. He's going to come in here right now. He's blinking away. Now, with no Medivac here to heal this army, every shot is going to hurt. That last Medivac comes in to try to do just that and is taken out.
Yeah, and he has one Viking and no more Medivacs by the looks of things here. So Stim Bio is going to hurt every time he does it. He has 2 tanks, one on the high ground, one on the natural, and they are incredibly critical here for TY to hold on.
The tank, the linchpin of the defense, is now taken out. Stats is beginning to move in. It looks like he may be able to exact his revenge on TY.
The SCVs are making things a little bit awkward here for Stats when the Immortal goes down. The tanks can reign supreme, but nice prison micro here from Stats. 13 SCVs, 14 SCVs have gone down, but TY still not dead yet.
Yeah, it's that tank that was on the high ground. The Immortal can counter it, but it's so low on HP. He's going to warp in again. With the Viking here, it might be risky if he tries to fly in with the Warp Prism. Stats is going to have to decide if he wants to double down or try to step back.
He's rallying everything in here. He really wants to put more damage on a TY. He's done so much already, but he's not happy with how much he's done. The double medevac just got produced out of Starport, so now his bio can be healed up, and they have +1 attack and stim and combat shield. So they can engage Gateway very nicely, but still, that is a lot of Protoss here.
The Viking actually now moving out on the map. It looks like he wants to try and do a little bit of scouting here because he really has no idea how much pressure or lack thereof there's going to be on him. And he still needs to macro up back at home and land as many mules as he can. So we have the Immortal drop, and they gun down that turret with ease. And Stats is going to use for the time being this Immortal harass to just keep Terran honest. The Viking, unfortunately for TY, was up in the north, so it's going to have to come back down here and try to chase this out.
Not only does he scout the third, but he also might have been looking for like a reinforcement if Stats was trying to go too ham on that attack there. As it stands, Stats sees this actually relatively scary army of TY here, and he knows where it's positioned as well. TY still looking towards that third base. We see the CC has been dropped, but it's in the main. The threat of Stats just attacking him at any point is still real and present.
Okay, Stats is coming forward. Does get that small engage up over there, taking out the little Marine. And they actually might move right by each other. Oh, this is so weird.
Yeah, this is
going
to get weird.
Yeah,
Tasteless.
it's going to get weird, guys. They're about to end up in a potential base trade situation. TY is coming forward now. I think he might be more concerned as to where is this army right now.
Yeah.
There's nothing defending.
Oh,
but
there they are.
Stats is coming in here immediately. The wall goes up, but it'll be destroyed soon enough.
I don't see tanks in the main here or anything like that. They're actually all in this attack. TY going for Stats' throat, and Stats doing the same thing to him. But which one is going to live and which one will die?
The Adepts come forward here. They're taking on these SCVs, but TY is taking out all of the tech here in the main for the Protoss. Remember, the win conditions are you have to destroy all of your opponent's buildings. So TY is trying to shuttle out and jettison those buildings away to locations that are not easy for the Protoss to get to. Obviously, only the Stalkers can hit the command center if it's flying in the air. Meanwhile, Stats may have to scramble around the map, trying to hide pylons like Easter eggs so that he doesn't get killed in time.
Well, he doesn't have that many minerals, so he can't really, he does have one Nexus dropped here, like the 4th location of TY, but he actually has vision of it with the supply depot. And Stats cannot afford anything other than, a pylon or a couple gas geysers or something like that.
Yeah, he's setting that up over there in the center right. The problem, though, I think for TY is, unless I'm mistaken, the Protoss' army...
The neighbors, man.
...is... Okay, hold up. This is so crazy. Look at this. The last 2 bases that are really effective on the map here. Everything else is just ghost towns and abandoned tech buildings. The engage is going to happen right over here, so force fields go down. Every unit counts since you can't produce anymore.
I actually think that force fields were not too bad for TY. These ones help out Stats a bit more, though. The tank's doing a lot of damage from the back. The Immortal's not able to close the distance. Hot pickup micro there from TY to keep the Marines alive for the most part.
The tanks are a real threat because there's not enough Stalkers to just blink on top of him. He's going to stem forward here. The Immortal's able to gun down the tanks right here, right now. The few Stalkers that remain are going to take out that Liberator, but the stim is coming in. It looks like he has enough. TY's taking him out.
TY is going stim for the win here. One of the tanks is still alive, and he can start pushing on this Nexus of Stats. Once again, he doesn't have that many minerals to be able to re-expand here.
Okay, so he can't mine from this location. Protoss doesn't have enough to make another Nexus. I don't see any way he can take this tank out, and Terran is mining from that additional base back there, just back to a few SCVs over there, so that's going to be